It's gonna be another loaded up discussion for a lot of Bray Wyatt related topics, so we'll see what the latest hints Bray is dropping, what's going on with Liv Morgan, and what Solo Sikoa is saying about his challenge to Bray Wyatt. We previously talked about the ongoing back and forth between Bray and Howdy, but now let's focus on another potential and rumored part of the story with Liv Morgan. Everyone has caught on to Liv's character change by now. The little arc that Liv went through leading towards Extreme Rules was based on how Ronda and others didn't think Liv was capable enough of going extreme and crossing a certain line. So Liv spent a few weeks before that event proving to Ronda and her doubters that she can do some extreme things if needed. Unfortunately for Liv, her efforts weren't enough to defeat Ronda, so she would still end up losing her title to Ronda Rousey. But the weird little change in Liv's demeanor started immediately in the closing moments of the match. Liv Morgan didn't give Ronda Rousey the satisfaction of getting her to tap out, and instead, she just faded away during the submission while having a big smile on her face. It was weird, it wasn't normal, but that was the point, for everyone to pick up on that smile and question what was going on with Liv. Liv then refused to take part in an interview at Extreme Rules and was sitting in a dark corner. Then on the Smackdown after Extreme Rules, Liv takes out Sonya Deville with nothing but Bray Wyatt related Easter eggs in the background of Liv's segment. Bray's logo and Abby the Witch herself can be seen in the background of that Liv Morgan segment. Then fast forward to the October 21st edition of Smackdown, and even more clues are coming from Liv Morgan's direction. When Bray was talking during his backstage segment, fans noticed that during certain shots of that backstage segment, it seemed like there were two different colors behind Bray Wyatt. One side was red and the other side was blue. WWE has done little foreshadowing before, even earlier this year, where a purple light was behind Rhea Ripley, just a few weeks before she eventually joined the Judgment Day. So, was this another foreshadowing moment? The red and blue lights representing the idea that Bray himself will continue to battle with the two sides of himself, good and evil. Strangely enough, Liv Morgan came out later on in that same show with a red and blue attire as well. Was that just a coincidence? It's hard to tell, at least right now, but Liv defeats Sonya and continues her transition into this Harley Quinn sort of insanity. The messy makeup, the body gestures, just all these different things that give off that crazy sort of vibe to her new character. But the most interesting and important thing Liv Morgan said came during an interview backstage after Smackdown. Liv Morgan was asked about what's been going on with her since Extreme Rules. Liv answered with a short response that could very well end up having a much deeper meaning. Liv Morgan explained her recent actions by saying, quote, "I've never felt more alive," end quote. Now maybe Liv didn't mean anything that deep with her response to the question, but if you tie her response back into the rabbit hole of events that's been going on in Bray Wyatt's universe, you can actually put a little connection there. Liv says that she's never felt more alive since Extreme Rules. And what's been happening in Bray's story ever since that night at Extreme Rules? Well, Bray Wyatt's old Firefly Funhouse puppets have been coming to life and are now fully alive in the real world. So when Liv Morgan says that she never felt more alive, could that have a double meaning? Could that actually be Abby the Witch, puppet, and personality slowly coming through the cracks and talking about how it literally feels great to no longer be a puppet and be alive? None of that is confirmed, it's just speculation. It may very well end up being a reach, but the way Liv Morgan used those certain words right after we just seen Bray's characters literally come to life just seems so fishy. It's still early on in Bray Wyatt's story. We don't know how his new split personality really works quite yet, and we haven't been introduced to any Wyatt 6 member yet either. But Liv Morgan's recent actions and now these comments about feeling alive just seems to be hinting at the idea of her possibly becoming one of the first members. with Abby being behind Liv Morgan in segments, and now talking about feeling alive. Are we seeing Liv basically getting more and more possessed by Abby the Witch Puppet by the week? It's a possibility. It's like if they're borrowing certain things and remixing the story that we saw between Alexa Bliss and Bray Wyatt. The Fiend basically fully possessed Alexa Bliss over a certain amount of time. So is this the same thing right now to Liv Morgan? But instead of the Fiend, she's getting possessed by Abby the Witch. If that's what's happening to Liv Morgan, maybe that's what we'll continue to see with the remaining members of the Wyatt Six. Maybe we'll have to be paying close attention to certain individuals that are starting to change their demeanors a bit. Everyone knows it's happening with Liv Morgan, but maybe it's happening to others that we aren't aware about, at least in this current moment of time. Speaking of Bray Wyatt, he also dropped a few lines that could have a lot of meanings and hints for the future. Ever since Bray Wyatt returned, we've seen a very soft and spoken and almost humble-like version of Bray. He's still talking about doing horrible things, but he's refusing to listen to Uncle Howdy and these other darker sides of himself. It seems like Bray is no longer the ruthless cult leader. He appears to have a new code that he plans to stick to. Bray called himself a servant that's going wherever the circle takes him. But fans feel like obviously things won't go down according to Bray's original plan. Fans feel like Uncle Howdy, or another darker version of himself, may eventually gain control of Bray Wyatt and use him to do their dirty work. And that seems like a great theory. Maybe Bray is trying to better himself and his old ways, but eventually something or someone is going to corrupt Bray Wyatt and lead him back to those dark ways. So that could be another possible direction for Bray Wyatt. Will he be controlled by a bigger and darker entity in the near future? Sticking to the Bray Wyatt related topics, Solo Sikoa recently spoke with Sports Kita Wrestling and was questioned about a potential Wargames matchup for the Bloodline. Solo had this to say, quote, "I see Bray Wyatt came back with some family members. We've got some family members," end quote. Solo's referring to the real-life versions of the Firefly Funhouse puppets along with Uncle Howdy. And this has been an idea that fans have been throwing around since Wargames was first announced. Bray Wyatt is all about following the circle and everything coming full circle. So what if that circle did lead up to another confrontation with Roman Reigns? It's still pretty crazy to think that the most recent Universal Champion before Roman was actually Bray Wyatt. That's who Roman took the title off of. So maybe it's not a one-on-one title match between Roman and Bray, but maybe it's this massive Wargames match with no titles on the line. Maybe that'll be a great way for Bray to get a little bit of temporary revenge on Roman for the events of 2020. But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments below, don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.